The Crystal of Time by Alexei Novitzky. Introduction. The Crystal of Time explores thought experiments relating to the nature of space preparation and the liquid light state universe. From Your Influence in Space, we see that our body's light encompasses the entire universe. We also see that space must prepare itself before matter can manifest into reality. As seen in the liquid light state universe, along with space preparation comes conscious preparations. Conscious preparations project outward, while space preparations contract inward, towards the observer or experiencer. The summation of both waves creates nodes where matter manifests. However, what does it mean to have constant space preparation and conscious crunching? What could that imply? Could we not be missing a much grander picture? Do we not once believe that the sun orbited the Earth? Your Influence in Space gives us the first glance at a solution when it asks, what do two particles accelerating at the speed of light and traveling in the same direction look like to another? It may appear as a solid particle frozen in space. Through the use of spirit fields described in the liquid light state universe, we see that vibrational harmony may be the deciding factor to your solidification and your journey through existence. The human body. The human body is one amazing piece of equipment. It has the ability to sense, make educated decisions, and ponder questions such as the nature of reality. It is our easy user interface that allows our bodies to electromagnetically dance with the light state of the universe. It is our mind's spaceship that glues us to our dimension of reality, as we are in a state of constant manifestation. The experience. It is extremely important to understand that all beings gather information differently. Humans' primary source of information exchange is electromagnetism, centered around the color yellow. It is the fastest sense humans have, and it seems instantaneous. Using electromagnetism, you can talk to someone on the other side of the planet with little to no delay. However, to a theoretically advanced being, the concept of communicating through electromagnetism could be equivalent to talking with someone with two plastic cups tied together with a string. Our 5 humanly senses would be primitive to a being that has 6 senses or more. They could be just as smart to us as we are to earthworms. With roughly only 4.5 billion years of earthly existence, it is unfathomable to consider the amount of intelligence and technology that may exist after 18 billion years of conscious evolution. To think we are the most advanced species is a very earthly and human thing. It is important that we learn our place in reality. We are one intelligence, on one tiny island, in an infinite pool of awareness and experience. Perspectives grow with senses. Every sense is used to construct a mental environment that allows the user to interact and survive. Sit quiet and explore your senses. What is it to feel, to hear, to taste, to smell, and to see? What is it to have an experience in time? What is it to be aware? What is this thing we call consciousness? Each sense adds to the user's experience within reality and stems from a grander and grander picture of existence. Each one comes from revolving around or being inside of something greater. Let us be the most primitive being you can imagine, completely senseless. We would think reality didn't exist. Now let us scale this up in an educated fashion. Let us compare the range of senses in physical distance and the median it is tuned to with the greater picture involved. You could say the most primitive sense is our ability to feel. Single-celled organisms have cell walls that allow for endocytosis. It is our most primitive awareness when it comes to how we describe traditional life. This sense is literally within the global realm of physical contact. You could say the distance is 0 meters for the ability to communicate and understand existence. What does the sense of 0 meters and ability do for us? It lets us know we are touching something. It lets us know that something exists besides us. The best mental image we could have is either wall or no wall. Let us now combine smell and taste into one category. They are essentially sensing the same thing anyway, which would be the structure of molecules and if they will be harmful or helpful to bring into the body. This lets us know that different structures exist. The range of again is directly associated with touch. You must physically interact with the molecule in order to perceive a mental stimulus of some sort. You could say the distance for this sense ranges from 0 meters to many kilometers. The kilometer distance would come from molecules being carried by wind, but from the perspective of the being, they would not be aware of the origin. The effective distance is zero. Sound could be considered the first awakening. It gives us the feeling of vibration and allows us to be able to detect direction. Sound, or primitive feeling, may be the first hint that there is motion. The mind, or consciousness, would be able to detect the Doppler shifts and vibratory frequency. It is the first hint towards varying velocities of matter and distance. Sound will not travel from beyond the earth. All four, feeling, smell, taste, and sound, let us know we are on something bigger. There is an environment in which to grow, the earth. Our next sense would be vision, which is centered around the color yellow. The concept of seeing through visible yellow light is a very earthly thing. It is directly related to the sun's maximum wave of output, which is the color yellow. In other words, we most likely would not be tuned to yellow or have eyes if the sun didn't exist. This ability to see through electromagnetism would be our next big jump in self-awareness and conscious evolution. We can now see. There is color to the noises we heard and felt. We have a new sense of awareness. We can see to the edge of the universe and to the illusionary beginning of time, similarly to how we can see the source of sound and to the illusionary location of manifested objects. Our awareness has now shifted to encompass the entire universe, or at least to the smooth cosmic microwave background. Our environment in which to grow has increased to the entirety of the known universe, or rather, limitations of aided visual perception. However, to say that is all would not be to understand how our senses have been developing. We are all one awareness, coming from the more primitive single cell. In a fashion, we are one being, becoming more aware. Now let us explore our sense of time and compare the now to the visual spectrum. Could the past and future physically still exist just like longer and shorter wavelengths of sound and light than our now may perceive? Either way, one thing is for certain, we do see and experience time. We are in time. Just like the universe, just like the solar system, just like the planet Earth, we are in or on time. We revolve around the center of time. The flowing nature of past, present, and future is a limitation to our perception and cognitive ability. We are, however, orbiting and flowing through the crystal of time. The crystal of time. Let us now examine existence as if we are in a universe that orbits through the crystal of time. Our physical experience gives us that of space and conscious preparations, a constant crunching of electromagnetism to matter's manifestation. One way that can be achieved by stationary motion would be by the body being at constant acceleration at light speed through an ocean of infinitely long-scaled waveforms. There are two basic motions associated with never-ending smooth constant acceleration. One would be to have a continuous force from behind, and the other is to have constant velocity while changing directions around a circular path or arc. The Big Bang. Let us quickly cover what is currently accepted. From the evidence, there was a Big Bang followed by subatomic lava. The subatomic particles then coalesced and formed elements, and so on. There is much evidence to suggest this is the case. However, what was the source of the Big Bang? Why did it take time for subatomic particles to come into existence? Why is the universe expanding now? Where is it going? There are many questions left unanswered. With every new sense of awareness comes a new sense to question and a new realm to explore. With our new model, the crystal of time, let us see if we can answer some of the questions associated with the Big Bang Theory. The moment when the universe collided with time. Consider our single-celled organism with its single-cell sense of wall or no wall. This sense let us know of a physical body, the Earth. The sense of light let us know of physical bodies, the sun, and the universe. Here too we will say that the sense of time, our clock, lets us know that there's a physical structure. It is the crystal of time. The Big Bang was when our universe collided with the crystal of time. At that initial moment, science argues that particles did not exist and time did not yet exist. Here we say time existed before our universe entered. Let us take a look at the universe that is on a collision course with the center of time. The very first event would be the universe would collide with the barrier of the crystal. This event is known to modern science as the Big Bang. Immediately after the Big Bang, you could say that the universe was too hot for particles to solidify. It was in a state of subatomic lava. Maybe it was too hot, or was it too cold? Was the soup not the right temperature or nature to solidify? Is that a fundamental property of the universe or time? Subatomic Goldilocks. Let us consider the concept of the Goldilocks paradox for the planets within our solar system. It was said that Venus was too hot for life, Mars was too cold. However, Earth was just right for life to flourish. Earth is in what we call the habitable zone around the Sun. It is the distance from the star that allows for water to be in all three phases: solid, liquid, and gas. When the universe first entered time, it does not seem to have been in a favorable location for subatomic particles to form. You could say that time was too hot and dense there. There was a sort of thick crust of time as the universe collided, breaking through, then sinking deep. Subatomic particles started to solidify as the universe found a more favorable position in the orbit of time, one where matter could exist and light could travel. What is the boundary distance from the center of time where matter exists? What could potentially create the subatomic Goldilocks zone? Perhaps it is the moment, or place of conscious crunching. It is where the acceleration towards center is equal to the speed of light. It is where matter is in constant manifestation. What does that mean? What could that imply? Could there be other distances from the center of time where matter may manifest and therefore physical reality? Is there another distance from the center where peaks of manifestation may overlap? Let us logically think of how waves overlap to create nodes of manifestations. It may be logical to think that for every common factor of event distance from center, a reality may be habitable. Event distance from center. The wave in the image depicts an event. Consider the multiple habitable zones as depicted in the image above. Each one of these zones is at a harmonic distance from the center. There would be zones where our ability of conscious crunching would not overlap properly with the space preparations to create a constant and steady state of manifested reality. In these fluid zones of time, realities as we know it would not make much sense because our bodies would not be able to manifest. We and all matter would be solely mind and spirit. You could imagine the first distance of habitability would be that of one length from center. The next distance would be that of two wavelengths, and so on. As we approach the habitable zones from the fluid, we would see matter begin to coalesce and universes filled with galaxies emerging. The same event may be experienced completely different depending on which habitable zone you are in. The zone of residence may be determined by the original amount of energy the universe had when it first entered time, and potentially how long it has been orbiting or existing within time. What would be the difference between habitable zones? You can imagine that your centripetal acceleration is equal to the velocity squared divided by the radius. By examining the relationship between acceleration and radius, velocity may be equated. For example, our acceleration must be equal to the speed of light. Therefore, a equals 3 times 10 to the 8 meters per second. This leaves two variables which may decide the locations of safe habitable zones for human consciousness: velocity and radius. Spiral of perception. For example, if a is equal to c, you have a radius of 1 meter, then your velocity squared must be equal to c in order for human consciousness to perceive manifested reality. Let us look at an example that shows only variations of velocity and distance. We will keep our centripetal directed acceleration equal to the speed of light. We will be using generic manifestation units as our distance from center. What you see is as the distance from center increases, the tangential velocity needed to maintain light speed acceleration towards center increases as well. In the simplest words, the further you are from center, the faster you need to go to perceive reality, or multiples of the proper wavelength. The feeling of constant acceleration is directly related to the constant change in velocity, while maintaining a constant speed tangent to the center. What you notice is the combination of velocity and radius makes a spiral pattern of where your acceleration towards center is equal to the speed of light. Let's assume constant velocity. It is always dangerous to make assumptions. However, for this model, we will assume constant velocity through time, as in the flow of time is uniform. The velocity of the universe around the center of time relates directly to how quickly events would be experienced. Therefore, you are left with a series of rings in which matter may be perceived by human consciousness. There would be a time dilations associated with the angular velocity differences between events. In other words, consciously experiencing an event on an outer ring would take more time than experiencing an event on the inner ring. You could say that everything is happening all at once in the center of time, a sort of time singularity where all events overlap. Near the outer rings, events seem to take longer, however, clocks would tick the same rate as an event in the inner ring. The main difference is the perceived length of the experience. The easiest way to see this is to look at what we would call event density. It is the arc length divided by the number of field lines. The number of cognitive snapshots a user undergoes per event traveled is related to the arc length and velocity. You can see that at the center all the lines converge and form a singularity. Events would all be happening simultaneously. If you were to extend this ring outward, events at infinity would take an eternity to unfold in mind, and there would be no overlap. Dark matter and energy density. What is dark matter? The easiest way to describe it would be that it is a superstructure that guides the shape of our expanding universe. It is only detectable by the gravitational effects it has on matter. It has not been directly observed. When it is mapped across the universe, it makes a sort of highway network similar to the nervous system of the human body or to the mineral veins of a mountain. In the crystal of time theory, dark matter is native to time and not the universe. The universe is bumping into and colliding with dark matter as it orbits the singularity of all moments. It would be very similar to water in a river flowing around rocks. Manifesting matter bumps into and flows around dark matter. Dark matter is part of the raw crystalline structure of time itself. Dark matter disturbances. Looking at this model, you could say that dark matter and energy would be one of the fundamental differences between habitable zones of conscious experience. It may also be the fundamental difference when considering the concept of multiple atoms of time and universe hopping. One time may be dense with dark matter, and one may be completely empty. Looking at the simple depiction, you can see that dark matter is not uniform by any means. It can be considered an impurity of the system in time. In some places it's thick and runs parallel with itself, in others it intersects. Perhaps it is a fundamental part of time, or it too has collided with time. Could it be an overlapping universe that does not manifest into our conscious spiral of light-speed acceleration? It is most probable that it is what holds the crystal of time together, a sort of glue, or perhaps, similar to a living being, it is used to transfer energy, like the cardiovascular system of reality. Either way, it is as if matter is attracted to and forms around dark matter. Dark matter disturbances and event density. The varying nature of dark matter in the time fluid causes slight changes in the unfolding of events in different habitable zones or densities. The experience perceived by consciousness is directly related to spirit harmony. We will return to this. Expansion of the universe. Let us continue to solve or explain some of the riddles we see in our universe today. One of the most puzzling questions we come across is, why is the universe expanding when the force of gravity should be causing it to contract? In Your Influence in Space, we discover that there is a sort of interstellar star pressure that may be observed. We saw that matter acts as shields. The force of gravity was equated to being interstellar star pressure minus shielding from mass. It is as if objects near each other are pushed together and that stars far apart are pushed apart. What is being shielded? Could it be consciousness? We see that matter is a result of space preparation and conscious crunching. We see matter drifting further and further away. Is there a sort of drag on the universe being created by the fluid of time and time itself? Is the expansion of the universe a result of a boundary condition between the natural rotational velocity of the fluid of time, the initial velocity or energy state of the incoming universe, and the consciousness that resides inside? Like any mass-on-mass interaction, there will be a drag or friction force of some sort. As the universe rotates or moves through time, the fluid will naturally want to reshape the universe. For typical fluids at the boundary, the velocity of the fluids will be the same, which implies, for this example, that the velocity at the edge of the universe will strive for balance within the general motion of the time fluid. The maximum motion of our universe would be naturally towards the edges, because the rate of fluid flow is the greatest. One could also imagine vortexes forming on the trailing edge of our universe as it orbited through time, displacing the fluid in a turbulent fashion. The rotation of time fluid. There are no stationary bodies in the universe. Again, making an assumption, however somewhat safer in this instance, you could say that the fluid of time itself is in a state of rotation about the center of time, regardless of any intruding universes. Remember the spiral of perception earlier? The location of matter's manifestation is directly related to the balance between conscious crunching and space preparation, which occurs when you are accelerating at light speed. This means that as the fluid of time either rotates faster or slower, the habitable zones will change accordingly. Another factor to the fluid dynamics associated with the time fluid and our universe would be the initial velocity or energy at which the universe entered time. Motion of balance is caused by the degree of imbalance. As the initial velocity differences in the time fluid and incoming universe increases, so does the expansion rate. Nowhere here does this imply that the universe will one day crunch back into singularity. Nowhere here does this imply that the universe will end as a frozen land of absolute zero. This implies that the universe will continue to cool and expand until it reaches an energetic balance with the time fluid. At that point, the universe would no longer be expanding or contracting. The second fate described by this model would be that of an energetic exiting of the universe from time. Shielding. Back to the example of gravity being a result of interstellar light pressure minus shielding from mass, and you see that perhaps it is consciousness that is being shielded, creating wells of perception, which translates into gravity. Conscious preparation, space crunching, shell jumping. Using the techniques explored in the liquid light state universe, we see how our conscious experience, guided by spirit potential, may travel from one habitable zone of experience into another. This relates directly to spirit fields, events, and dark matter density. Magic sphere. Let us now go back and examine the magic sphere in slightly more detail. Here is the magic sphere of mind, body, and spirit as derived from the magic square. This pattern is one that does not interfere with the light state of the universe. It almost tricks the light state into thinking that it does not exist, meanwhile allowing for infinite energy to be created inside. In this special example, even the middle four numbers 6, 7, 10, and 11 add to equal 34. Each one of the smaller rings may be represented by the original bigger picture. Each one would contain a spike in the middle. As you can see, the height of the spike may become infinite as the number of rings increases towards center. Consider the spiking height to be your antenna, which connects you to your varying densities of your conscious perception, and therefore waking reality. The density of reality. The thickness and fullness of time you experience is directly related to which habitable zone your consciousness resides in. Remember, the universe is existing and having experiences at each of these habitable zones simultaneously. There are almost infinite numbers of habitable zones as they are related to whole number ratios of our space preparation and conscious crunching ability to accelerate towards center at light speed. Conscious preparations and spirit harmony relation. The universe has nodes of manifestation which stem from the natural overlapping of electromagnetism. Our consciousness waves add and subtract to create potentialities across all habitable zones or spirit fields in unison. The physical experience one undergoes is a result of the vibrational harmony in accordance with the potentialities that exist. It is the spirit potential described in the liquid light state universe. Your consciousness is tuned to the best light state of coherence in relation to your spirit vibration, and that is where you will feel as if you have physically manifested. For a quick, simple explanation, you could go out on a date, plan everything perfectly, conscious preparations. It was the best date of your life and both of you are about to kiss, space preparations. Then anxiety, fear, or perhaps overconfidence. It creates a shift in your body's vibration or spirit state. You now, through the use of shell jumping, have jumped into a physical existence or mental construct of that vibration. You have effectively changed energetic densities, which coincides with a different array of dark matter influences and event paths. The event now literally manifests differently than if you were to have just stayed cool and calm. He or she now flees in fear because of the anxiety. The love is gone, but both regret it. It was all in doubt in the mind, and they will eventually pace back towards no wall, because there is either wall or no wall in our primitive understandings. We will pace back to this. Exiting universe. What happens when and if a universe comes near another universe? Is there and does it even make sense to consider the possibility of interference with another? Let's consider a universe in a couple ways. We could say it's a solid, a liquid, or a gas. For the example, let's use the electric liquid model with high viscosity. That means our universes are sticky to themselves and have an electric charge. The electric charge would be related to the spin state of the entire structure. It may be reasonable to think of it as like an electron. Any matter that spins creates a magnetic field. When you have something the size of the universe, you end up making a pretty big magnet. In our simple model, if a universe collides with another, they will either bounce off of another or stick to each other. depending on the direction of the magnetic field. It may be possible for enough energy to be gathered during one of these collisions for an entire universe to escape through the crust or mantle of time. Where would it go? In our crystalline structure of time, we see the universe orbits towards center at light speed. It somewhat mimics the behavior of an electron around an atomic center. Could it be that time molecules, or atoms, also have a positive and negative charge based on the electric charge within the universe within? Could the crystal of time we speak of be similar to one single atom of time in a yet bigger structure? Will our electron universe travel to another atom of time? If so, what might we experience? Consciousness native to time? This leads to the ultimate question. Is the consciousness that's been evolving in our universe native to the universe or to the crystal of time itself? What is the order of operations as far as events? Was it time, consciousness, then universe? Or do we really think it went universe, time, then consciousness? Cleaning out the inside through harmony. Circling back to your influence in space, we see that the answer may be that the order of operations is time, consciousness, then universe. Let's look at a crystal of time as if we are a living being. What would the goal of our lives in relation to this much greater picture be? We all seem to strive for love and harmony with our environment. People fear death and pain. It is that easy to understand. There is either love and discord, or there is either love and harmony, or struggle and discord. Let us go back to the single-celled organism with the simple ability to detect wall or no wall. The wall distorts the organism. It favors no wall. It favors freedom and potentiality. Although our senses have evolved to detect more complicated structures, they basically still say the same thing. The translation to the mental projection is now love or no love. All beings in time strive towards natural harmony. When looking at the light state of the universe, it is calm, it is smooth, and it is everlasting. The universe may be a distortion of sorts in a smooth fabric of time and consciousness. Conscious agents could be the harmonizers of time, with the goal of being to remove discord created by entering bodies. After all there is love. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy.